What's up, dude? It's Josh J. I want to go over speed advice today, and I feel like these are some things that I'm fairly well versed on. I tend to sometimes rush things, which means that I have been able to work out ways that make me work faster, and I really wanted to go over how you could speed up your work and different ways and techniques that you kind of apply to you speeding up your work as an artist. A video I would highly recommend you guys going to watch if you're looking at speed is something called tempo. And I know Cynic's Design did a video in depth on tempo, so I'm not going to do that. Definitely go watch his video. But the basis of it is that when you have control over your tempo, so control over how fast you're going or how slow you're going, or how much energy you're putting onto detail, or how much energy you're putting onto the bigger picture. So working out like a thumbnail, you kind of just have control over how fast and slow you're going. And the basics of the video says, like, when you're able to balance out the tempo of the way that you create art, it helps a lot, firstly with just like flowing into it, but it also helps a lot with your speed, because you work out that, like, okay, I'm gonna do the first bit of this art piece like really quick, and I'm not gonna look back, and then I kind of can carry on going without feeling burnt out by just going slowly and going over a few of the details and just polishing up on a few different things. Another thing to think about, or to make sure you're not doing when you want to speed up your art, is you don't want to evaluate yourself while you are creating. And this is an important one, because you only want to kind of evaluate at the end of your progress, at the end of whatever it is that you've done. Because when you're evaluating as you're going, this is okay. So it's good to evaluate when you're going in some cases, but this is about speed. So we're just talking about getting faster. When you evaluate at the end of it, then you kind of look back and you're like, okay, I should have done that differently. I should have approached this in a different way. I should have done this here, and all of these kinds of things. That's good to do when you do it at the end. But when you're doing it during the process, you kind of like, it's almost just like stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. You know, you can't get into the flow of it. So yeah, don't evaluate it while you're going. And when you're not evaluating it while you're going, you do get into flow. And I did a video on flow. I'm not going to do a video on flow, but flowing helps you to generate a lot of speed. It creates a lot of like momentum. And you should check out my other video on flow. It might go more depth into that. It definitely goes more depth into that. But when you're able to flow with it, a good tip to consider, what I do is, I'm working in Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop. If you're painting and you hit your F key twice, it expands your whole window towards the borders, so like all the way to the end, all the way to the top. And there's no panels on the side or toolbar on top, so you kind of can only just see the painting, and it's good for just like zoning into it and flowing through it. So that's a good way to enter into flow. Another thing to consider when you want to speed up is you create limitations for yourself. And I'm talking about like time limitations. So if you're doing like a master study, or you're doing a study of someone else's painting, or you're doing some value sketches, or you're doing thumbnails all over the place, a lot of the times I'll just set like a timer for myself, and I'll make sure I'm doing all these things, like controlling my tempo, not evaluating it until the end, and creating these limitations of, say, like I'm doing thumbnails, and say they're like complicated ones, I will set like a 10 to 15 minute timer, and I kind of will just go and just flow and just go like as quick as I can until I feel like I've got the thing down. And the more you do it, the more you kind of have a gauge for how long 10 or 15 minutes is, and you kind of just know where you are in that time frame, and it just forces you to just do things quickly. And I remember like John Burton was saying that, like, when he's in his studio, he feels like he's just playing like a chess match. He's every paint stroke, every brush stroke is like, it's like thought through. But when you're talking about speed, you're just reacting. And a great thing to do in for drawing from life is when you see something, you just react and you put it down. I see like the way this light does, I put it down. It's like my sketches of the whole thing, the composition, I'm just like seeing it, I'm reacting, I'm putting it down. And in that way, I mean, in the beginning, even I still do really shitty paintings or drawings every now and again. But the more I'm doing it, the more I just react and put it down, and don't like overthink the thing. The more accurate my eye becomes, but also my speed increases a lot better. And I should probably do more of this. I should probably paint more from life. I do sometimes, but I'm so busy nowadays with a lot of digital art that I don't get any chance that I get. I should make time to do that. And that's highly recommended for working out your speed. Another thing that helps with speed is when you actually know what it is that you're trying to paint. So a lot of the times if I can just backtrack one more. With creating limitations, you need to have a very focused vision of what it is that you're designing. Because if you go in there with no plan, you kind of are just left like a lost cause. And when you have like a focused thing that you're trying to do, that's why speed is setting time limits, and working on your speed is good with like master studies or like thumbnails or something. Because you have a target image and you have a focus, and you can just like flow, and you have a reference point with what it is that you're creating. So yeah, just to circle back on limitations. But when you have a plan in place, you're able to then create without going back and forth the whole time. And it's this amazing quote that I heard that says, I think I watched it on an interview, I can't actually remember who said it, but they said to have impatience with your actions and patience with your results. So that's not my quote, but I thought that was amazing, because to increase your speed as an artist, you want to be impatient with your actions. So it's that way of reacting and putting the thing down and not overthinking it too much. That's what increases your speed. And you're impatient with your actions to do things, but you got to be patient with the results at the end, because the more you work on speed, it might feel like things are all over the place, but you got to be patient with your results. And it's the repetition and consistency of doing these things that you find you get faster and the results are better. And if you're doing art for a hobby and you don't really care too much about speed, then that's totally cool. Then this video does not apply for you. But for people who might want to get a bit faster, these are some things that are worth thinking about. And also a good thing to do when you want to increase your speed is you want to have all your reference open before you start. And I have two screens. I got my Huion drawing tablet here, and I got my desktop here, and I put all the reference on my desktop, everything that I'm going to be doing. I've got my plan in place, and then I can just flow into it. Because I've got all my reference, I don't need to be going and like Googling something here and then like doing this here and whatever. I can just go and I can have all my reference, and I can look at my reference, I can put it down, and I just like am keeping the momentum of this thing going. And that's something that I didn't do for a long time. And I found that when I started doing it, it was a lot more alleviating, because I didn't need to go and research something, and I had planned kind of what I was going to do. And I also heard another quote, can't remember exactly who it was by, but it says, before you go into battle, you need a plan and you need to hold your reserves. And in the context of art, that goes to say that obviously you need a plan for whatever it is that you're making, but to hold your reserves is to kind of hold the punchline for the end. And I always find that when I'm painting fast, I'll put everything down at once and then kind of refine slowly in different places, and you kind of build the whole thing up together. And when you build the whole thing up together, once you've put everything down in place, you know kind of more or less where everything is. then you put that stuff down first, and that's the reaction part. And another thing to remember is to just not be scared of making mistakes. And it's a big thing, I think, with younger artists, is just being very afraid of mistakes that they might make. And it's obviously easier said than done, because we all have some fear of some mistakes, whether it be in anything, not only art. But when you take away your fear of mistakes, you don't stutter in your creation process. You're able to just flow really well, because you don't really mind if you make a mistake here and there, because I mean, you can just fix it. Fiction. This is digital art. So if you're doing digital art, you can still fix it. And if you're painting, you can just paint over it. And if you make something bad, it doesn't even matter. It's the intention that counts. I don't know if you've watched my video on intention, but that can be linked back towards like not being so scared of making mistakes. So things to remember in this video is controlling your tempo, number one. Don't evaluate until the end. Setting limitations for yourself, and having a plan in mind. And if you get those down, I think you'll be good for speed. Cool, guys. Thank you so much for sticking through. I hope you guys really got something from this. And I'd love to know if you guys improved your speed from watching this video, and what different work you guys improved on, because I know these things kind of helped me when I was starting out, and I would love to have known all of these from the get-go. So yeah, but otherwise, guys, if you liked my artwork, you can check it on my other media channels. On my art station, if you just type in Joshy J with 2 E's, or you go into Instagram and type in Joshy J with 2 E's, you'll see more of my artwork. But otherwise, I'd love to know what different kind of videos you guys would like me to make. Otherwise, I will check you guys in the next one. Cheers.